This is weird. Hello. I'm not even sure how to start this. We've all been through some crazy times, and well, I'll just tell my evolution through all of this. Back in March, when this whole coronavirus thing started, at least here in the US, we were told over 2 million Americans were going to die, and that the way to stop that was to shelter in place, stay at home, completely put the country on pause. When this was voluntary, and it was only going to last 3 weeks, I was hesitant, but I was okay with it. As time went on, I saw our freedoms getting squashed, our freedoms getting taken away from us. And the dire predictions that, as a data analyst, I should have known ahead of time were bogus, they never came true. And those dire predictions were with all the shelter-in-place, social distancing measures taken into account. So as time went on, and doomsday didn't happen, and our rights kept getting infringed on more and more all around the country, that's when I said, this is not good. I said, no more. And when it came to Resurrection Sunday, the highest holy day of Christendom, I was determined to find a church that was still meeting. And I found one that did a drive-in service, and we went there. Because God has told us to meet together in person as a body. Fellowship is a major part of the Christian faith. And you can only do so much on a Zoom call. In Hebrews chapter 10, here's what the author of Hebrews writes. And so, dear brothers and sisters, we can boldly enter heaven's most holy place because of the blood of Jesus. By his death, Jesus opened a new life and Jesus opened a new and life-giving way through the curtain into the most holy place. And since we have a great high priest who rules over God's house, let us go right into the presence of God with sincere hearts, fully trusting him. For our guilty consciences have been sprinkled with Christ's blood to make us clean, and our bodies have been washed with pure water. Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promise. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works, and let us not neglect our meetings together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. So God has commanded us to meet together. If you look at the early church, they weren't just meeting together, they were eating together, they were sharing life together. And when you're stuck in your home by yourself, you can't do that. So, what am I to do? Am I to obey the governor, or am I to obey God? Now, technically the governor here in Ohio has not forbid churches from meeting. They have an exception. They are considered a necessary entity. But all of the churches in our area, minus 2 that I've found so far, have chosen not to meet in person. And the 2 that I've found are doing drive-in services. And you can only do so much interaction in a drive-in service. See, church, Christianity is not just showing up on Sunday, singing a couple songs, hearing somebody preach, and then going home. The Christian faith is about life-on-life interaction. Here's what Jesus said. In Matthew chapter 10, starting verse 26. But don't be afraid of those who threaten you, for the time is coming when everything that is covered will be revealed, and all that is secret will be made known to all. What I tell you now in the darkness, shout abroad when daybreak comes. What I whisper in your ear, shout from the housetops for all to hear. Don't be afraid of those who want to kill your body. They cannot touch your soul. Fear only God, who can destroy both soul and body in hell. What is the price of 2 sparrows, 1 copper coin? But not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without your Father knowing it. And the very hairs on your head are all numbered, so don't be afraid. You are more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows. Everyone who acknowledges me publicly here on earth, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But everyone who denies me here on earth, I will also deny before my Father in heaven. Don't imagine that I came to bring peace to the earth. I came not to bring peace, but a sword. I have come to set man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Your enemies will be right in your own household. If you love your father or mother more than you love me, you are not worthy of being mine. Or if you love your son or daughter more than me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you refuse to take up your cross and follow me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. Anyone who receives you receives me, and anyone who receives me receives the Father who sent me. If you receive a prophet as one who speaks for God, you will be given the same reward as a prophet. And if you receive righteous people because of their righteousness, you will be given a reward like theirs. And if you give even a cup of cold water to one of the least of my followers, you will surely be rewarded. So Christ is telling us not to fear man, not to fear those who threaten you because of your faith. And he is telling us that God cares deeply for us. And so we don't need to be afraid. God is in control. He is great. And so I don't see people standing up and obeying God. This past Sunday we visited a church that is still meeting in person. And it's one that I have major theological differences with. But they're obeying God. They are meeting together, they are worshiping, they are not neglecting the gathering of the saints. What happened to the church that when tragedy hits, they're on the front lines taking care of the needy? What I see is people cowering in their houses. We need to get out there and help. Online church is not Christianity. It's just a formalism. I fear for the country that we are going to leave my children. And that is why I'm making this video. We need to say no more. Enough is enough. I'm not even in this video going to go into all of the debate about what the virus is about, and is the virus as bad as they say, and we need to obey God first. And I don't see that happening. And so this is my challenge to all of us, myself included, to stand up, to obey God rather than men, and let's take care of each other. I'm not saying this to be cold-hearted, and yes, people have died and people are sick. Why are we hiding in our houses and not helping others? You don't quarantine healthy people. We're destroying our nation, and we're destroying the church in our nation. I don't know where the quote comes from, but I want to say it's Winston Churchill, but I could be wrong. That the only thing for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And I see millions of good men sitting around doing nothing. That needs to end now. Let's get up and do what is right.